What's up, everyone? What's happening? Okay, so Mayor de Blasio, New York City mayor, will be running for president. He made the announcement, but first, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell, help me grow my channel. Now, de Blasio, who's running for president, many of you don't know him if you're not New Yorkers. He is the unfit mayor of New York City. He's in his second term now. This is a man who. It's funny that he entered the race now. Like he's probably going to be one of the last ones to enter the race because he's typically always the last for everything, given his track record of literally being late to almost everything. Like there was so many events he had to make an appearance to, and he was like late. There was an award given out for like veterans or something like that, and the man couldn't get there on time. He was late. He gave some silly excuse. He was like, "Oh, there was traffic on the way here." And it's like, well, aren't you the mayor? I don't get this. Like, when you're the mayor of New York City, you don't say I'm late because of traffic. That's something you were supposed to take care of. It's like coming to my house and I tell you the bathroom is not working. It's out of order, and I'm a plumber. It's like, what the fuck is this? What kind of excuse is that? So he's running for president. He thinks he has a chance. He was quoted as saying, and this is the Daily News. They're laughing at him. All of the like the Daily News. It's a crappy newspaper here in New York City. It's New York's hometown paper, and they're completely shitting on de Blasio. It's like when your own when the home crowd is shitting on you, it's like maybe you shouldn't run for president. You should just give it up. But yeah, they're completely they're just laughing at him. He's done such a terrible job here in New York City for the last two terms. His first term, and now this is like the middle of his second term. He has a problem, a few problems. Number one, he's been accused of being a pay-to-play mayor for so long now. It's just been one individual after the next. Of course, on the Democratic side, getting busted. And it's like a pay-to-play scandal with him in City Hall and him and the mayor and, whatever the case may be. And, of course, the mayor he's never held accountable for any of this. What do you got to do to get him, to even get him, give him a fine or try to, or even suggest that he steps down and resigns or something. I mean, there's no investigations against this man. This is the same man who has been running New York City housing to the ground. So here in New York City, especially in Brooklyn, well, in all the boroughs really, mainly. Brooklyn and the Bronx, I think, has the most housing projects in the city. There's quite a few in Manhattan. There's a couple in Queens and only a few in Staten Island. He's running them to the ground. He's doing such a terrible job. Now, of course, you could say, well, he's not the one running the housing projects. There's people there that run the New York City housing. But he's the man on top. So he always, he's the fall guy. He has to take all the blame. If there's a city agency that's not doing very well, who do we blame? We go to the tippy top and we go to the mayor. It's like when the country's not doing too good, we blame the president. I mean, that's just how it works. And after so many years of complaining about the downfall of New York City housing, you would think he would have done something about it. I mean, they're still finding multiple apartments throughout the housing system with lead paint. They still have lead paint in these apartments. No matter how you feel about the people who live in these projects, no matter how you feel that they have a free apartment pretty much, and they're totally dependent on the government, and they have all the incentives to not want to get their lives together because you're just giving them money, you're paying them rent, you're giving them food stamps, you're giving them medical care, you're giving them everything, so they just live a free life. We can criticize them for that, 100%. No one is above criticism. But these are children. Children don't deserve to live in an apartment with lead paint. Paint peels. It's a child. Every child puts anything in their mouth. So they put lead paint in their mouth, and that's it. You don't need something like that. The health department here in New York City did studies and tested high levels of lead in some of these children from these from these housing projects, and it's a higher level of lead than normally found in anyone. So this is definitely a problem. He didn't do a very good job fixing this. There's also reports of people who live in the housing projects that are requesting for a bigger apartment. Maybe they have unfortunately you keep growing your family, keep having more kids, and it's just a generational welfare just being passed down, and your family's expanding. Some people moved into an apartment, an overcrowded apartment. That was their situation from the beginning, and they've been requesting for a larger apartment, or they just want another apartment because the one they're in is just completely wrecked and destroyed. and the housing department's not doing a very good job fixing it, and they're placed on this very long waiting list. And then it turns out that there's multiple apartments in some of these buildings that have not been renovated, empty apartments that have not been renovated in some cases like up to a decade. You have an apartment that's been emptied and has not been renovated since the last tenant moved out, and that's like from 2009 to 2010. And it's like, what is the apartment sitting there empty for so long? How come you didn't, fix it and rent it out to somebody else? So that's one criticism against him. I mean, we can go on. There's also a problem with the ACS with the children's services here. They're a huge problem. I mean, they dropped the ball so many times. There were so many children given back to a woman. There was the famous case. Was it Nixon Brown? I think her name was. Don't hold me on the names. I'm so flaky on names. But there was the little girl that the ACS workers went out there and did an investigation, and they let the girl stay in the care of the mom and the mom's boyfriend, and the girl was beaten to death. And that there was more than one. That's just not one. There was multiple times this has happened. Also, in my neighborhood where I grew up, there was a kid, I can't remember if his name was Patrick Alfred or Alfred Patrick. Again, the names kill me. But this is a kid that was taken away from his mom, and he was placed into foster care in the next building from the building I lived in and grew up in. And this was in the mid-2000s. The kid disappeared. He went to throw out the garbage and never came back. He was gone. They never found him. And, he's not the only one. There's been other cases like this that, ACS completely dropped the ball. There's also a huge problem in our hospitals. The hospitals, all the city hospitals here are complete shit hospitals. Like you don't have to going to the hospital, to that hospital, especially the one by me, Coney Island Hospital. Like, why would you want to go there? You might as well just stay home and die. It's a lot better option than going there and suffering even more than you were. Then you eventually die. Like, this is, it's like the worst hospital. I know so many people that have or had lawsuits against that hospital and other city hospitals. They're so beat up and ran to the ground. But that's what you get with commie healthcare. And de Blasio is all about commie anything. So, it fits in really well with him. Also, the school systems here are completely shot. They're terrible. They're shitty schools. They're all falling apart. The education level is just terrible. These kids are not getting a good education. I don't know, at this point in the game, who do you blame? Do you blame the administrators? Do you blame the staff, the teachers? Do you blame the students' parents? I don't know who you blame at this point, but either way, it's just a shitty situation. And de Blasio wants to allow our specialized schools, like we have a Bronx School of Science, we have Brooklyn Tech, we have a Stuyvesant in Manhattan, we have quite a few of the specialized high schools that you have to take a test to get into the schools. These are very tough schools, very hard schools to get into. These schools are very well recognized. So if you graduate from, let's just say Brooklyn Tech, you graduate from there, and then you apply for any college in the country, the college recognizes that school and says, oh, okay, Brooklyn Tech, we know of that school. It's a very, very, very good high school. If you got into Brooklyn Tech, you have a very good chance of getting into almost any of the universities here in the country, because these are such good schools. His idea is to open the door and to give up like 20% of the seating. I think it was up to 20% of the seating to Black and Hispanic students, to low-income Black and Hispanic students in the city, and waiving the test. They don't want no more testing to get into these high schools. They just want to have this open door policy where 20% has to go to this particular group, because these schools are overly represented by Asian students, of course, and white students. Now, here's the thing, these are specialized high schools. These are high schools for individuals. Now, there are Black and Hispanic kids that do go to these schools because they meet the criteria to get in. They can pass the test. These are smart kids. These are very smart kids, and they can do it. Now, this is not a race thing, because when I was a high schooler, and if I had to take that test to get into any of these schools, I would have gotten in. They would have said, hell no, get out of here. You know what I mean? There's no way I would have gotten into those schools. I mean, but then again, I'm in college now and doing very, very well, I might add. But when I was younger, school just wasn't for me, and I was just a complete mess up when it came to anything in the education department. But if you can get into the school, you can get in, and that's what it's for. It's a specialized high school. You have all these high schools throughout the city that you can go to, but the specialized ones are for kids who can meet the grades. This has nothing to do with race or gender or sexuality or any of the buzzwords the left likes to throw around. It's just like these schools that are set aside for children with special needs. If you don't have special needs, you cannot go to that school. These are schools that are for a particular group of kids. that need the help. You don't need that help. Now, some students might say, hey, you know what? If I go to a high school with special needs, then I can probably do very well. I'll probably be, further on with my education, more advanced with my education than the students that are there now. It'll probably be an easy ride for me to graduate. So no, you can't go to that school. You have to go to the school that's based on the level that you're at. If you're an average person, an average student, then you go to an average school. If you're above average and you can get into an above average school, then that's what you do. This is the fairness. This is what real fairness is. Fairness is not saying it's not fair that this group can't get into this school because they can't pass this test, but this group can. It's not fair. It's like, well, the test is what makes it fair. Pass the test and you can get in. That's the criteria. Pass the test and you're in. You don't pass the test and you have to go to the other schools. And the funny part is that Blasio, who said that he was all for charter schools letting parents choose what school they want to send their kids to until he became mayor, and then he said he's not for it no more, and now parents cannot choose what school to place their child in. Their child has to go to the school that's in the district that they live in. But now he wants to say, hey, but you know what? We'll make an exception and we'll allow them to go to these specialized high schools that are not in the district that they wanted to go to. So it's just more hypocrisy again. It's more just things that just don't make sense coming from the mayor. Also, he wanted to, in one breath, he said he was going to take care of the stage, the horse and carriages, the stagecoaches, the rides that we have in Central Park. You can go there and you can rent out a the guy has the horse and the carriage, and he takes you on a trip through Central Park. It costs something like $75 a second on these things. They're super expensive. I'm afraid to walk past the horse. It might cost me too much money. But he promised to get rid of them until he became mayor, because a lot of people crying that it's animal cruelty and shit like that, and that they shouldn't be allowed to profit off of the labor of a horse. Now we're advocating for labor rights of a horse. You know what I mean? When socialism is taken to the next level, holy shit. But anyway, he promised to do away with them until he became mayor. Then he didn't do away with them at all. He kept them. So now he wants to run for mayor. I'm sorry, but this it's just, he's not going to make a very good. He wants to run for president. He's not going to make a very good president at all. I mean, this is a man. There's going to be so much criticism against him for the way he ran New York City, chasing people out of New York. So many people, they're just leaving with this guy with his bike lanes. He wants bike lanes everywhere. Bike lanes all throughout New York City, to the point that, you can't even drive anywhere because there's so many bikes. I mean, everywhere you go, there's a freaking bike lane. This guy's big idea when he becomes president is putting a bike lane going from the East Coast to the West Coast so you can bike to California or some shit like that. What kind of ideas is this guy going to have? This is the same man who has a wife who has been... first of all, she's been accused of fumbling millions of dollars that she was handling for some mental health initiative that they were doing here in New York City, which is what is she doing handling any kind of finances at all? We did not elect his wife to be mayor. We elected him. Well, I didn't elect him. I would never vote for him. But, she is not the mayor. She was complaining at one time, this is going back a few months ago, saying that it's not fair that she's doing work for free. She should be paid. And even he said it too, my wife is being taken advantage of, and it's not fair. Typical socialist. You know what I mean? We didn't elect her. She doesn't have to work. What is she doing, putting her nose into anything? No one elected her. No one voted for her. She does not have a job for the city of New York. She could just fall back. She can go take a long nap for all we give a shit. No one elected her. She's not working. I don't want to hear from her. You're not the one running the city. What is she doing, sticking her nose in places it doesn't belong? So she fumbled. It was millions of dollars. It was he recently, they admitted that it was a ridiculous number. I can't remember how much it was, but it was something like $300 million or $400 million. That it might even be more. I think it was even a lot more than that they just completely fumbled and lost, gone. It was just complete wasteful spending. It's over with. And speaking about mental health, I mean, if you see what's going on in the streets of New York, it's not as bad as California with the feces and the needles and the homeless. Every 3 steps you take, you're dodging a pile of dog crap, of human crap, or a syringe. But we have homeless all over the place here in New York City, reminiscent of the 1980s. Every morning I get on the train going to work, and it's like the train pulls up, and every single cart you have multiple homeless people, taking up as much room as they can while they're stretching themselves out trying to get a good night's rest. It's hard to be mad at them. I mean, some of them do have mental health issues, and they just can't control themselves in any way. There is no pulling yourself up from the bootstrap when you have severe mental illness. I feel bad for them, but the mayor is not doing anything to help them. And then of course substance abuse is another problem. In that case, I don't feel bad for you if that's what you did on your Saturday night growing up and you just ruined your life and now you're homeless and you can't get your life together because you're addicted to alcohol and drugs. That sounds like a bad decision that you made. I know they like to call it a disease. It's like, when have you heard anyone going outside and just like catching a case of crack? You know what I mean? Like, I just went outside. I don't know. I was hanging out. Somebody was sneezing next to me, and now I got the 24-hour crack virus or something. Like, how is this a disease? It's not a disease. This is a bad decision. So, but he's not doing anything to help the situation here in New York City in any way, shape, or form. And now he's running for president. So, I don't think he's going to do very well as president. He started by his campaign in like Iowa. It was like a month ago. I did a video on it. He went there to I guess test the waters, and it was like a big 20 people came out to see him. It was like 20 people. I'm sure like half of them didn't even know who the hell he was. They were like, who is this guy? I'm just gonna go see what the hell he's talking about. He's kind of tall. He's a tall dude, de Blasio. They probably thought he was like a retired basketball player or something. They were just there to see what the hell does this former what does this former Lakers player have to say? So and I'm sure the other half of the people probably worked there or something. This was probably like in an old folks home where he had a built-in audience. They were already there. They're just waiting for anyone to come and entertain them. They don't give a shit. Send in the clowns. Get a juggler here or something. I don't give a shit. Get one of those the mime guys. Get one of them to come in and entertain us for a second, right? So anyway, de Blasio's a fool. He's not going to be president. It's not going to happen. No one's going to vote for him. And he should just give it up. That's all I have for this video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and all that stuff. I said that earlier, and I'm going to say it again. And that's that. Please, if you're out there, do not vote for de Blasio at all. I shouldn't even worry about that because you won't, because no one will, because he has zero chances of becoming president of the United States. I'll see you guys next time.